All right, time for a weekly outlook. It's late, but we'll get it out. Um, Pretty exciting week ahead of us. Friday, right, made a decent pivot low for now, or it could be. Still not out of the woods. ES and NQ doing pretty different things. Well, not doing different things. At different places rather. In terms of like up against what we saw most recently. I think that's the best way to put it. In terms of like where we traded, came down to this VWAP from this pivot low from the Japan fiasco. But bigger picture, we're still within this. Well, now after Friday's little pop, up against this again, right? Up against where the bulk of this value is being built. I know we've been in a balance since the election, right? There's the election day gap, really range bound, right? Election day gap, you have FOMC, right? The high a couple days before. Close the gap, worked up back to the high, and now back down to the low. And what do we do next, right? Do we get a full traversal again, back up to highs, maybe higher, or is this pop here gonna get faded? I think this is like the first time the 20 and 50 have been like this close together. The 20 curling down, so it should be interesting, right? Like if you came to me and said like you wanted to be short up against maybe this high volume node up here, or some of these levels up here, like I wouldn't blame you. Um, but anyway, let's get into it. Right, so like, could this be different than the last couple times? Right, we made a low and try to work back up. I think so. I think it's got a good chance it can. I'm still gonna play it level to level, how I typically do. Right, set that one level below where we're currently trading is like the line in the sand for buyers, line in the sand for sellers, and whatnot, and work up against those, right, each and every day. So should be interesting. You have the State of the Union or whatever they're gonna call it this time on Tuesday, uh, and yeah, some really nice levels to work with, right? NQ essentially doing the same thing. Yeah, I was hoping this move off of 600 was gonna be a little bit cleaner. Wasn't. Kind of got chopped up on Friday, but it is what it is. I mean, it's still green. It's just the execution I executed very poorly. But have yet to trade back into value, right? Where the bulk of last week's value was traded on NQ or on ES, we kind of traded back into that by the end of the day Friday. But it was a spike, right? Could it just be end of month flows? Sure. So not putting that out the, not gonna just throw that out the window. But anyway, you can see that we've established some kind of value here, at least Tuesday to Thursday. So that's what I'll work with primarily, right? Essentially these highs, this lower end, right? So range bound within until we're not is what I'm going to work with. And since I only play longs or primarily play longs, right? I'm going to look to get long if we don't really get a retest of, let's say, this lower end or Friday spike or the shelf here, right, just below it. So if we don't get a retest of any of these levels below, this is what I'll work with, right, to get that long. Maybe you have a naked point of control up here, so that'll be a target. Main target's probably going to be this. Well, I don't want to say main target. I think main target should be 15. You got a shelf on the composite there. But trading back in above these 70s, right? If we go back to your daily, you'll see that that's where the bulk of value really starts kicking in, right? Down at this like 70s, back up to 100s. So this is the bigger picture. Bigger picture, although, yeah, we're in balance here, right? This is your balance. But the bulk of it's being spent here. So, range bound, obviously the bigger picture, range bound within, but, we have some other levels to work with. Obviously, it's not going to be as clean as this. But, that's the idea. So if we are like going to trade back above this and trade above where we have that value established last week, that upper end, right? I'm going to be looking for backup into this high, this 6100 essentially. And you have some levels. Can we reject and then go lower? Sure. But yeah, I think if we're going to be above 5990, I think we're safe to go clean up some more structure, right? Go to get this naked point of control first and go see these singles, maybe even 72, which is this shelf there, and then more importantly, 6100. Okay, so that'll be the upside plan, at least for the start of the week. Sellers, like, could you be short up against this? Yes. Do you really want to though? After you had like, I know you've only had like 5% down on the S&Ps, but you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down days in a row. Maybe time for a little bit of relief. But yeah, I think I would treat it as any other like little balance, just sideways in between, and you break out and you just look for that bid, look for absorption on pullbacks. When you can get really bearish, I'd say, is if you accept back below 59.10. Okay, back into Friday's value. If you can do that, I think we're off to make a new low, or at least go test this low. I say test this low, and you could get somewhat of a potential bottom or close to a double bottom, only because with the weakness in NQ end of last week, I could see a scenario in which ES doesn't make a new low and NQ does and goes to close that election day gap. Okay. But anyway, right, bearish below. Starting with 59.30s, 59.10, 59.12. Yeah, I do not want to be bid at levels below unless something lines up with that election day gap again. NQ, this is where your value is being built. Well, last week primarily, right? You have a poor high up here, but the bulk of it's being built here, arguably, right? If we look at this volume profile. So that's what I'll work with. I know it's like a, what is that, 100-point range, 120. If we're watching this 60 to maybe a little higher, it's like 160 points. Maybe not much, but that's sort of what I'll be working with and watching. Primarily this 60. Okay, it might be choppy if you're trying to get involved somewhere in between here. We'll watch the 60 for that little move back up into this and potentially back up to maybe sweep this poor high and up to 500. Below 900, you have this shelf here, a tiny one, not huge. I'd primarily focus on the 750s, where Friday's spike was and where value area high and shelf is on Friday. Can this 660 like see a bounce? Sure, I don't expect it. You know, I kind of wanted it to be a little cleaner off of this when we got the dip on it Thursday. Fortunately, it wasn't as easy as I had hoped. Could this bid? Sure, but I would just watch this. Right, if we can get back over this, sure. But back below this, I think sellers step back in and go close that election day gap. Maybe go test that shelf down at 260. I don't think there's anything that relevant below. You got high volume down here. It's relatively weak. Right, you got a couple session lows down there, but that'll be the plan for the beginning of the week. But like I said, is there? I mean, this is like the first time we've seen the 20 and 50, at least on ES, at least on the S&Ps, this close, and curling, right? In a while, right? We've been close before, it just hasn't been curling. Not for a while. Okay, so that's going to be a bit of an issue, I think. Potentially, if we, let's say, go get to this high volume node at like 60.15 and can start seeing offers again, right? Take us down into maybe the lower end of this, maybe back to these poor lows or weak lows, rather, potentially, right? It's just the time will come for that. And we'll just watch at 60.15. I'm still bullish. I still have some calls for end of March, but it's tough. It's tough. You got a lot of uncertainty right now. A lot of uncertainty, especially with peace talks with Ukraine, Russia, and the president. Really, a lot of uncertainty. So it's a fun market to trade, but sometimes things aren't too clear. So just play it day to day. Really focus on a couple key levels going into the session, and yeah, let's have a killer week this week. And we can cover RTY shortly. No, RTY, I don't really see any opportunity unless we trade back over 20. Let's just call it 22,000. YM, don't really want to trade. Crude, already kind of made the move I was looking for. The offers into the 70s and 74s, 70.4s, right? Back down to potentially the 68s again. Caught the short twice, right? Up into this, swung it short, and intraday caught it here. I swung some runners, got stopped out right at the open. Had the opportunity to reload. Well, actually wasn't home. Could have reloaded here back under 70.2s, which was like sort of like the main level I was watching, the point of control on the composite. Could have reloaded there. I wasn't home for it. So it looks like I'll miss that move, but I think this is headed down to 68, and it's a matter of what you do then. Do you get another short-term pop, or is this the pop? Is this the leg that finally sends us lower? Um, Gold probably putting in another new high. I would like to think. Pretty poor highs. All right, lacking some excess really. So there might be a couple daily outlooks on gold when I see something, when I see a bit more of a clearer setup. I tried longs on Friday into, what was it, 2850s. Here, I got stopped out because I played it pretty darn tight. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, when I see something clear on gold, I'll put that out, and on crude, I will most definitely put something out if something sets up to where, maybe we can try a bounce, a short term bounce, intraday bounce off of 68.15 or something like that, right? Or if we spend some more time trading up here for maybe, yeah, I just need a little more MGI for at least now, right? Had this move lower not happened already, like maybe we could have put something out that I loved, but we'll wait for more MGI on that one. Okay. But ES and Q pretty darn clear to me as to what I want to do, at least beginning the week. Really hard to say like where we're gonna be a week out. There's just no knowing, or I don't think any point. Uh, I just like getting in where I can reduce risk and hopefully hold some runners. So uh, have a great trading week, and feel free to reach out with any questions if you guys have any.